All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Holly Hamilton, Director of Meteorology at the Turks and Caicos Islands Airports Authority, coming to you again this Friday with the tropical weather briefing this Friday, October 18th. So going right into it again, as usual, looking at our surface analysis first. Uh, Looking at the region, we have a tropical wave that just came off of the coast of Africa. We have a subtropical ridge pretty much dominating most of the Atlantic. And then we have this tropical wave here. This is Invest 94L, that's currently near Puerto Rico and continuing westward, northwestward towards the Turks and Caicos Islands. And then we have this tropical wave here. This is another area of interest, Invest 95. And then we have a frontal boundary, a stationary front going across the northern Bahamas. So looking at our satellite imagery, we see some disorganized shower activity, thunderstorm activity associated with that tropical wave over here in the East Atlantic. Um, Everything pretty much clear here under that subtropical ridge. And then we have Invest AL94, disorganized showers and thunderstorm activity associated with that system. And then here, Invest AL95, right off the coast of Belize or the Yucatan Peninsula, and a lot of disorganized showers and thunderstorm activity associated with that system. And then we see basically the cloud formations going along that frontal boundary that's extending from the North Atlantic and across the northern Bahamas. So for our tropical weather outlook, we have the two areas of interest here. Um, Currently now Invest AL94 or 94L has a low chance of formation in the next 48 hours and also through the next 7 days. This system, we were watching it, I think, from last week, and it pretty much tracked across the Atlantic with this potential of developing. But over most of the Atlantic, it was embedded in this area of dry air. And it's pretty much out of that now, but the room is pretty much closing now on this system and its chances of developing, which is pretty low now. I believe the National Hurricane Center still they're keeping a low potential of development because the conditions are rather conducive. The sea surface temperatures are warm. It's pretty much in an area of low shear, but it's just not really forming into anything as yet. And like I said, the time is pretty much closing on when that will happen because that frontal boundary that we saw extending across the northern Bahamas is going to interact with that and then get in an area with some strong upper level winds, which will be unfavorable for any further development. But still going into the next couple of days with a low chance of potential of development. But regardless of that, we're looking at chances of it being a pretty wet weekend for us in the Turks and Caicos Islands with that system. Um, as you saw in the satellite imagery, the convection in comparison to yesterday has beefed up a little bit. And when I say convection, I mean the thunderstorm and shower activity associated with the system. So if that holds on through tonight into tomorrow, we could be looking at some rainy weather for the weekend. And then that second area of interest here near the Yucatan Peninsula has a medium chance of development over the next 7 days. And regardless of development, um, the Belize and Mexican peninsula, they're looking at potential of very heavy rainfall and flooding and so forth associated with that system. So looking at our winds and waves for the next 5 days, we have the tropical wave here, and then the convection associated with that. This is the area of interest, Invest 94L. So we see that trough of low pressure near here in Puerto Rico. And this is for tomorrow morning. And we're starting to see the winds increasing over, this is the Turks and Caicos Islands here. So expect breezy to windy conditions tomorrow morning. We're going to start seeing the marine conditions starting to deteriorate, especially along the Atlantic exposures. So we're looking at 6 to 9 feet waves um, in northeasterly to easterly swells. And so that'll activate a small craft advisory tomorrow. And we're expecting these conditions to pretty much persist into the weekend. So again, we see that the tropical wave approaching nearer over Hispaniola now and near to Turks and Caicos Islands. So those breezy conditions, wave heights still around the 6 to 8 feet, and that small craft advisory will stay in effect, especially due to swells. Going into Monday, we'll start early next week. We'll start to see the conditions improve. Winds will start diminishing a little bit. Seas will start diminishing as well. Looking at 5 to 7 foot waves along the Atlantic exposures and looking to downgrade the advisory to a small craft caution. But we want, boaters and beachgoers to be very careful when considering entering the waters along the Atlantic coastlines. And so, yeah, by Tuesday and Wednesday, we see winds becoming much lighter, seas decreasing um, and calming down as we go into next week. So, just wrapping up here, I brought up the special weather statement for Invest 94L as it approaches to Turks and Caicos Islands. And we're looking at some rainy weather. Um, Localized flash flooding is possible, especially in low-lying flood-prone areas during heavy downpours or prolonged rainfall events. Um, Over the weekend, maybe a total rainfall accumulation of 1 to 2 inches. Higher amounts could be possible in thunderstorms. Winds 15 to 25 knots with higher gusts, and the seas, like I said, could be 6 to 9 feet in those swells, mainly along the Atlantic exposures. So we just want you guys to be safe. Um, Stay as much as possible, avoid areas that are prone to flooding, don't drive through floodwaters, and beachgoers and boaters, again, just be cautious when entering the Atlantic waters, or if best as possible, avoid doing so. So with that, I thank you again for joining us for the tropical weather briefing this Friday, and you can tune in next Friday, October 25th. And during the week, just follow us on social media for our updates, our forecasts, which we issue 3 times a week, a 3-day forecast. And with that, I wish you a pleasant weekend.